She just left.
Beg your pardon?
Hearing number 9 is parcel number 07-120-159, Christopher Furlong.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I'm going to keep this short and sweet probably. I had a refi that I was working on just these last few months. Had an appraisal done back in November, which you should have there in the packet. And I submitted it. You guys revised. Wasn't quite down to where the appraisal was, so I'm not sure why, but I'll just leave it there. That's pretty simple.
All right. Well, I know we don't have any questions in here from the county.
So the appraisal, I guess, that we received on this property, I think it did have some 2019 sales in it. And the property was originally at, where was it originally at? So, I'll get my paperwork together here.
It's all right, it's a lot of work, a lot of paperwork.
You're quicker than most. So originally, we had 328, 400 on the house. He did supply an appraisal for 295. Some of the sales dates on those comps were 2019, but I kind of made an error, honestly, on this one. During the informal process, I used Comper, which is our tool that we kind of check ourselves with, and I errantly didn't set the date for 2020 when I ran it originally, and I actually imported some 2018 and 2019 sales that would indicate a value of 314.9, and we during the informal process I moved it to 314.9 based on that bad information, and once I prepared it for today using 2020 sales, the estimate is 357,400, which is actually above where it was originally. So I can't get to 295. I know that's what the appraisal is. Like I say, it did have some 2019 sales, but based on our data, I think we were even low with the original assessment at 328.4.
Any questions for Mr. Spurlock?
I mean, the only thing I see, the appraisal that he's got, of course, it has 3 comps in it. And one of those comps is one of our comps. It looks like.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out why there's such a large disparity between his appraisal and our bank. When you look at 357, when I was sitting here looking at it to start with, we were just 295 to 315. I wasn't getting
Right,
that. Now we're at 357.
Right. And I'm not sure if you guys have the two compers. I actually had the first one I did during the informal process to get us to the 314. And I don't know that I have that one with me either, but yeah, I do actually. But I had one 2018 and two 2019 sales on that one. But like I say, you staying in the neighborhood using 2020 sales. That was the original value was 328.4.
My suggestion is keeping it at the original value of 328,400. Typically, if we run one against our schedule values and we run it against copper, we don't typically increase based on copper. So that would be our standard procedure. We just say copper would support our original value. Unfortunately, an error was made by Greg, and he made a reduction that in retrospect, he shouldn't have. So it's unfortunate, I hate that, but, our suggestion is returning it to its original notice value.
All right,
328.
28.4. Any questions for the county? All right. Or Mr. Spurlock, any questions, Mr. Spurlock? Thanks, sir.
May I?
You sure may.
Thank you. Wow. I don't even know where to go. That's pretty awful. And if I may comment on this entire process, it has been awful. We have been given very short timelines to respond. Very bad data, as we have seen, not just in this case, but previous. I'm astonished at what's happening. If I can't get a loan for the amount that you're appraising it at, it isn't that value. That's what I can get a loan at. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I've talked to a bunch of other people who have refied. As we all know, rates are low right now. Everybody's refining. Everybody's getting their houses appraised. That was a walkthrough, not a quick appraisal. That was, person was on my property, in my house, saw what it was worth, made an assessment. I don't think the tax value should be higher than that. What is the justification for it being higher than
Point I
that?
don't agree with, I mean, if you sent 3 appraisers out there to do 3 full appraisals, you'll come back with 3 different values.
Heard.
Yeah. I mean,
But then that would, but if they are that disparate,
Yeah.
we have a problem with the system. Right. I did think that the appraisal you have that I've given you was low. I appealed that because I wanted to get more, because I wanted to make some improvements to my home. Cannot do it. They would not move the number. So. Okay,
All right, thank you, Mr. Spurlock.
thank you.
Hearing number 10.
Parcel ID number 07094474, Debbie and Ben Hill.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I unfortunately, after listening to everything, I feel woefully unprepared. My appraisal came back at 324 and some change. When I looked at on the paperwork, I actually looked at just the lots that are on my side of the neighborhood, because those lots are approximately the same size, and those houses are built by the same builder. The other side of the neighborhood and the back of the neighborhood are different builders, different time periods. So they look different, and everybody treats them differently in the neighborhood too. First, of course, was the lot size. I'm one of the smallest lots in there, so winds up being close to a little over $212,000 per acre is what y'all valued my lot at, whereas the average price per acre is $182,000. I'm less than a quarter acre. I'm about 0.205, I think it was. So, I mean, when you value me compared to those that are at half acre in this small neighborhood, that's a pretty significant change there. I understand what was mentioned earlier today, that all the lots are treated equally though, so there's not much to say about that. When I look at the price per square foot, the average is 86.49 per square foot just for when I look just at the assessed building value. I'm for some reason at 89.8. We bought this house 4 years ago. The only thing we've done is just put a brand new roof in, but that just went in this year after the evaluation. So that shouldn't have been counted with the evaluation if it did. So I don't know if that's going to raise me again, but when I look at the comps around me, though, there were 3 houses that were sold right, 2 doors, one house 2 doors to the left of me, 1 house 2 doors to the right of me, and 1 house directly across the street, across the cul-de-sac, so across the intersection in front of my house. All 3 of those houses were sold, 2 of them in 2020, towards the latter part of 2020, and 1 of them the very end of 2019. And they average $101 per square foot, all said and told, land and property and building. And mine, for some reason, is valued at $108 per square foot. These are 4 properties right there within about 200 feet of each other. And mine is, yes, mine is the smallest by about 300 square feet, but I'm $7 a square foot more than the others, and I'd like to see that reduced.
Any questions, Mr. Hill?
I don't have any.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. All right, we'll hear from the county.
This one, like I say, we have it assessed at $324. I picked 3 closest comparables that I had with 2020 sales in that neighborhood. It suggested a moving average of $334,700, so about $10,000 more than what we were assessed at, so I made no change to the value of the property. There was a sale of a house within about 48 square feet of his, very minor adjustments, and it sold for $336 on 11/19/2020, and that's 3,000 sagebrush. And that's the closest comparable that I have.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the county?
I don't have any.
Okay.
Can I address that?
Absolutely, Mr.
Sagebrush is another section of the neighborhood, different builder, different lot sizes, everything. I did not count those in the comps. The comps I counted were the comps that were around me. When you have 4 houses that are sold, and 3 or 4 houses that are sold in the same time period, within 200 feet, why would you go to the other side of the neighborhood, which is a different setup, in order to do a comp? The house directly beside me is at 400 square feet, so 3340 square feet, 300 square feet more than me, and their assessed value is $339.9, which is only $100 a square foot, $101 a square foot. That is, I mean, so to go to the end of the neighborhood to another area when you have comps directly beside, there's no reason to do that. And they told us before that they do comps 500 plus, 500 minus. If I have comps within 200 feet, why are you going to another area in order to measure? And, well, that comp makes it look better so we can get more money. That doesn't make sense, because that's not what an appraiser does. That's not what the bank does when they come and look at it. They look at what's closest to you.
I think it might be good, could the county kind of respond to his comment?
Typically, we look at sales in the neighborhood, which is often a subdivision. And I think when the reference is made to plus or minus 500 square feet, that wasn't distance from the property, that was plus or minus square footage.
That's what,
We have zeroed in a house that's 48 square foot difference. I think that's more similar, even if it is 1,900 feet away within the same subdivision. It's probably a more comparable house than one across the street that's 300 square foot difference. So, yeah, we went physically some distance, but they're, as far as we can tell, they're very similar quality homes. They're very similar size lots, and very similar sizes. And I would zero in on the size more than the distance personally, as long as they're within a recognizable subdivision.
And I'm trying to remember what he was mentioning too. I mean, are the comps that the county has, are those more recent?
I couldn't address the date. I think he said 2 were in 20. maybe
One was in
19.
2 were late 2020, 1 was late 19.
Right.
So, first of all, we typically go to 2020. That's our first stop. If we look at the more recent, try to stay within the same quality. And then personally, I think all the appraisers then start zeroing in on square footage to get the most similar in size.
And I'll mention again what two people in front of me said. When I started going through my list of items to check, I went through the list that was sent to me by the state as what was used, on the email and on that website that, to choose comps. And the comps that were given me were all those comps that I used now in order to say it was everything right within that first 1,000 feet of my house where they were sold. And that is what I went by, not going, like he said, 2,000 feet away in order to get to another value. That's, if the county is going to send us something to do as comps, and that they're showing as comps, then that's what we need to use as comps. We can't be going further away. There's no reason for that.
The default on the website is the neighborhood. There is not a distance default on the copper as is initially in the public taxpayer.
Phil, maybe step up to the computer
Yeah.
and pull up that
Yeah.
application. You need to do it over there. Just to show the board what that you and the taxpayer are talking about.
You guys know where copper is on this? I never go to it from the website. Have it saved.
NC.union, NC-union-citizen.
Go to the revaluation section, Brad.
Yeah. I think if you could.
There,
type
okay,
in
last
directly
one. Okay, there we go.
NC-union-
There we go.
There we go. There's your.
I just have it
compass.
saved. I never go do
That-
it this
Yeah,
way.
we hardly ever have to go here. There you go, Phil.
Parcel number is 07 093 474.
Say the last three.
474.
474.
So we come here, we go, it's going to pull in the taxpayer's information. Again, it looks different than what I see on my
Under the
screen.
parcel number, Phil. Right under the parcel number.
Yeah, this is where I start, so I got to apologize for anything up to here. So it's defaulting right here to my neighborhood. So my neighborhood is its default, correct. And it's defaulting, so there is no size, there's no distance, it's just
The
pulling up.
distance is to the left, it's 1 mile.
Okay. It's defaulting within 1 mile within the neighborhood. It's defaulting 2018, 1/1/2018 or newer. And it's defaulting to
That's it.
size, I believe.
No.
No, it isn't. It's taking anything,
And
which, and you're left with quite a plethora of comparables. To get to a more manageable group, to get a more usable group, a more meaningful group, we default to our starting point. It isn't where we always end up.
click on the start date.
I actually have a different program, so you're gonna have to bear with me a little
I
bit.
just had to do this. If you click on that. right there,
Yeah,
the
you're right.
18.
You're absolutely right.
Change your year, Phil.
This mouse has got about 1 inch of movement on it. So again, trying to get to a more manageable data set. And as a rule, we'll go, my typical starting point, and again, it looks a little different than what I'm used to. The subject is 3,000 square feet, so my typical starting point is I'll just go plus or minus 400 and see what that gives me. If it's a lot, I'll just keep narrowing down to get to a set of reasonable number of comps.
And so here you can see on your screen, you can see comps that are right there.
Sure.
That are the same year, I mean, 07, 2020, 08, 2020, 08, 2020. So I mean, there's three of them right there within several hundred feet of my house that are within the comp range that they just stated, that he just stated that they use.
It
But
is.
yet they pulled away even further instead of using what's right there. That, you see what I'm
I
saying?
I narrowed my selection down more, so that's my starting point. If it still leaves me 8, 10, I'll get to where I get the closest I can with 3 or 4 comps.
But why would you keep moving down when it's taking you further and further and further away, when you have comps right there next to it that are within the same? If you're saying that 500 plus minus is considered comparable, square foot is considered comparable, why would you try to get further and further away?
I'm not trying to get farther and farther away, I'm trying to get more similar.
I think, Mr. Chairman, I think this demonstrates to the board what the office and the taxpayer both uses from the standpoint of
Right.
pulling their comments.
Because I have a hard time with my property value being so much higher than the houses around me. And I know the end of the neighborhood, that's practically another neighborhood, but because it's another builder. When you have one builder in one section of a neighborhood, that builder's prices are one thing. You go to another section of the neighborhood, that builder's prices are another thing. That happens all the time. I think we've had people complain about the custom homes that having different values also the same way. When I look at the properties around me built by the same builder, within what is considered comparable ranges, I should be at around $101 a square foot, not $108 a square foot. And I'm currently at $108 a square foot because of something 2,000 feet away from me.
Well, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Hill. Any questions for Mr. Hill in the county? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Parcel ID number 0793020. Alice Cliffs.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Alice Klepper, and I own the property located at 7014 Pinewood Forest Drive. I'm here today to appeal my new tax assessment. I have 5 pages that hopefully will be in front of you so that you could review while I'm discussing them. So I purchased the property on August the 6th of 2018, and I paid $175,000. During that time, it was assessed at $171,000, and the following year, in 2020, it was still assessed at $171,000. So the new assessment increased the property value to $310,200, which is an increase of $139,100. Now, my property is very different because it's only a 1-bedroom, and you can't find many 1-bedrooms. So I have a property that's a 1-bedroom, 1.5 bathrooms, and it's 1,479 square feet. Unfortunately, because there are so few 1-bedrooms, there are not a lot of comparables in or around my neighborhood. So I went on the internet and I searched, and I found Zillow had my property listed for $209,523. So they were evaluating it at $209,000. Redfin, that was $241,354. And those figures are shown on page 1. If you go to page 2, I have a screenshot of the current property appraisal that was from Union County, and that appraises the property at $310,200. So I went on the search engine that the gentleman just showed, and it only produced 2 properties, which we'll discuss soon, and one of them is, it's going to be page 3 and then page 4. And both of these properties, though, have larger land units. And they have also larger living areas, and their appraisal right now is lower than mine. So if you go to page 3, which is the first comparable that I'm going to talk about, that home is actually just 5-minute walk. I mean, it's right around the corner. And let me say that my property is on .0888, so it's, a little more than 3/4 of an acre. The property that I'm referring to is 1 acre, .063. My property, again, is assessed at $310,200. Their property appraisal is $208,500. My property is 1,479 square feet. Their property is 1,598. My property is a 1-bedroom. Their property is a 3-bedroom. So if we go to the following page, we have the second comparable. And these comparables are things that I downloaded from the Union County website, right? So this property is located across the street from me, 2 houses down. Again, mine is under an acre. Their acreage is 2 acres, 006. So they're quite large, much larger than mine. My appraisal, again, is 310. Their current appraisal is 256,000. Again, I'm in a 1-bedroom. They're in a 3-bedroom, 3-bath. The last page I'm showing you is a property that I printed last night, which I had exhibits on it, but that just sort of got slid in there, so you'll see exhibit, but it's actually page 5. That property will not be on the market until Friday, so it'll be listed on Friday. That property is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,308 square feet, and that's going to be listed at $185,000. So I can't, anyway, let me proceed. To summarize my appeal, based on the evidence I presented, I believe that the reappraisal of my property is not correct. The new assessment substantially exceeds the actual market value of my property. Due to the lack of 1-bedroom inventory, it's difficult to properly appraise my home. 1-bedroom homes sell for significantly less than in almost every situation, mostly because families are not interested in them. And although after my initial appeal, the tax assessor did lower my appraisal to $255,000, I'm still asking for a change in the ruling and requesting a reconsideration in the value of my home. Thank you in advance for your time in considering my appeal. Questions?
Thank you. Ray, those questions?
So your opinion of value, does it get back to what you paid for it in 2019?
No, I mean, I'm reasonable. And when I filled out the initial appeal, they asked that question. And I said, well, what about $200,000? I mean, I know that the property has appreciated, but it's puzzling when you can't find a 1-bedroom, and the homes that are right in my neighborhood are valued, and those are current evaluations, they're valued at $208,000 and what did I say, 208 and 256. How can you appraise mine at 310 when it's a 1-bedroom and nobody wants to buy a 1-bedroom? I'm single, and that's why it was,
So the county's back to 255, so the difference is between 255 and 200.
it's $55,000.
Yeah, when you get to the rooms, though, is it, because the county probably hadn't been in the house, I mean, is it?
It's the fact that.
Do you have other rooms that are used for something
No,
else?
you walk in the house, it's a large room. To the left, it's open, right? It's a big open room. To the left is the living room, in the center is the dining room, and on the right side is the kitchen. You have a hallway, you have a half bathroom. Where the hallway ends is my bedroom, and I have a bathroom, that's a full bathroom, and I have a closet.
Okay.
I don't have,
That helps me.
it's not a huge home. And the other thing that I think decreases the value of my property is I have a shared driveway. I don't have my own driveway. My husband passed away 2.5 years ago when I moved here. And I bought this house because my daughter lives next door, so that I had somebody there. But it's, for resale value, it's not a smart move, you know, because nobody's going to want to buy a property that you have to share a driveway with your neighbor. But for me, it works right now because, you know, she's my neighbor. But and the other downside of my property is that we're on septic and we were on a well. Thankfully, the city, because we had a lot of arsenic, high levels of arsenic in our water, in our well, they finally gave us city water. So thankfully, I'm on city water, you know, but I mean, it's not like I have sewer hookup or anything. I'm still on septic, so I just don't understand how it could be
That really
evaluated.
helps me kind of with the layout of the house.
Yeah, it's a one-bedroom, single-story home for one person. You don't, you know, you wouldn't want to have a family in there. There's nowhere to put them.
Okay,
Well, thank you.
thank you.
Let's hear from the county.
Yeah, so this property is unique, and it is hard for her to get comps, and it's hard for us to get comps based on the one bedroom. So what we did on this one is we tried to find, you know, the closest comparables, you know, square footage and grade wise. And then if you guys have my comparable report, I have some analysis notes there of kind of what we did there. This house it's 1,479 square feet living space, but it does have a 1,200 square foot attached garage, so there's, you know, about 2,700 square foot under roof. So we kind of looked at the difference in the price per square foot for garage versus living space, which is roughly $65.80 a square foot difference. You know, we kind of did a cost to cure, and we come up with $35,000. You know, for that amount of money, you could probably finish out, you know, a little over 500 square foot of that 1,200 square foot garage to add additional bedrooms or, you know, to make it up to market. So if you look at the comparables we have, the bottom line, there's a functional obsolescence adjustment of $35,000 on each of the comps, which brought us to a moving average of 255.3, and that's where we moved it to from the 310,200 that was originally assessed.
So are you assessing her for what she could do with the property, or what she,
I've deducted that. I'm deducting $35,000 off of each of the comps.
Basically making a functional adjustment of $35,000 due to it being a one-family home. We recognize that's not the highest, the most typical use of a property, highest and best use, let's say. So we're saying $35,000 deduction for that alone. But by doing it by comp, you actually add that to, subtract that from the subjects to say, hey, we got to adjust the subjects to make them like this, like the subject.
We could find, you know, one bedroom house, you know, similar to that. And I know like the comparables that she had that are physically close. You know, they're older ranch homes versus a 2012, and these homes were built in the early 70s. It's 1970, 1972. So it's just hard to find good comps on that. So this was as close as we could, you know, get to a value.
okay.
We didn't go outside the immediate neighborhood. We did stay within a mile, it looks like, to find more similar size, quality, age, and size homes. And then made adjustment of $35,000 for it being a little better.
Thank you.
But can I respond to that? But even with adjustment, the house down the block that, it's literally across the street, 2 houses down, that house is 2,584 square feet, and you're assessing that one at 256. I'm not going to build my garage, you know? I don't have a need to do that. I'm by myself. I don't need more bedrooms. I don't understand why your assumption is that I can, you know, I guess, get a contractor and build out and then raise my property value. That's not my intent.
Understood. We just made an adjustment saying, being it's unusual, we have
It
to
is
adjust
unusual,
for it.
and that's
We
why.
have to adjust for it in some way.
Yeah, and that's why I'm here, because it is unusual, and nobody's gonna wanna buy a one-bedroom. Believe me, when I get, when I'm gone or whatever, who my daughter takes, will have the property, it's gonna have to be a very unique situation for somebody that's gonna have to be in the position that I'm in, that wants to live next door to their daughter or son, or,
Okay.
they're not gonna want it, so.
Understood. We made the
Thank you.
adjustment. We used a judgment call of $35,000. If these gentlemen thought something else was appropriate, I would have no problem. That was our best judgment. That's how that impacted your value.
Okay.
Any questions for the county?
I'm good.
Good.
That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Kepler.
Thank you.
Sorry to hear about your husband. Hearing number 12.
Parcel ID number 06129-0328, County Economist.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Hopefully you're good and worn down by now. Very
We're
agreeable.
fresh as a daisy.
Yeah, so we're here different from everybody else this morning, not disputing our tax value. We just want to talk about a bill we recently received, and we want to try to get your consideration on that. So Kelly and I have been longtime Union County people, been here all our lives and been paying Union County taxes since the early 90s, 94. And so we've never had an issue with the tax bill. They come in the mail, we write a check, taken care of. And we just recently bought a house in 2018, and we had a closing, went to the closing with the attorney, paid up the taxes then, and we've received several our yearly tax bills since then, and we've paid those. And we got a bill the other day, April the 12th, which has got taxes that we need to pay. They're saying that we need to pay taxes that we had no idea about. And it's because of a mistake that the county made when the owners transferred, when we purchased it in 2018. Apparently, they had a special tax exemption on the property that they were getting and paying a lower rate or something of that nature. And it should have ended when we purchased the property. But the county did not catch that, and we continued getting that rate for a few years. And now they're asking us to pay thousands of dollars for those years since we purchased it, because we weren't supposed to be getting that rate. So we're just asking for consideration to waive that, and we've been paying what we thought was correct, and that's what we're asking today.
So is this the bill you got?
That's one of the bills.
$2,373?
Let's see here. Yes. So what they want to do is go back 2 years of the 3 years we've owned the property, almost 3 years, and have us pay the difference in what the Popejoy previous owners' value was with their deferment. I think they had an age deferment, and compared to what our tax bill should have been. And in all honesty, I write these checks. I don't check, when I write these since '94, I don't check for their validity or correctness. I just trust that it's correct, write it out, send it in the mail. And so, we just, during a pandemic, both of us work very stressful jobs. To get a bill that's close to $4,000, it hit us, with surprise. I know there's a lot that can go on. I don't expect perfection from the county, and I know that you service a lot of citizens, but we're just asking for consideration. We did get a reevaluation, and it's significant. It's 34%. We're not arguing that, like he said. That does increase our tax bill quite a bit. And so to take the increase plus this, the mistake, add them together, it's significant.
Okay. All right. Any questions for the Bentons?
This is a refund you're asking for, right?
No, sir, no refund. We paid the taxes, and what the county has done, they've discovered that they made a mistake and haven't charged us enough.
Okay, thank you.
We're just asking to not have a new tax bill from 2 years in the past.
Right,
Not a reach back.
yeah.
All right. Dutch?
And I'll just wait for some clarity from the county.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting
All right.
for. Steve?
Yeah, that, we have internal reviews that we do throughout the year. So this one was caught as an exemption that had priorly been on the property exclusion that was for the elderly program. So the prior owner had that exclusion before 18. So when the transfer happened in 18, our office did not remove the exclusion from the property. So, and you can see in the bill that she presented, those were the prior year bills. I think there's actually probably two in your packet, one for 19 and one for 20. Then you can see on the bill that it still states there's an exclusion value. For example, on the 2019 year, you've got an exclusion value of $260,000, 326. So 260, 326 as an excluded value. So there was actually two bills that came out that had the exclusion on there. So she was correct. We're actually sent a discovery letter noticing that it should have been taxed at full market value with no tax relief program included on that. There would be no penalty to that. We're just going back collecting the taxes that should have been paid for those 2 years. But now there again, we have not generated a tax bill yet. We just sent out a discovery letter to, hey, this is coming. And so that's kind of where we're at today. But it was because the prior owner did receive the exclusion for the elderly program, and we're just going back collecting the taxes that should have been paid at full market value for those 2 years.
And Mr. Adcock, if I could just add, I did call Steve, and we had a conversation. He was very helpful and helped me to understand. You know, he explained that he thought I should have noticed that, but in all honesty, I do not study these bills. I write out multiple bills every month for our businesses and personal, and I truly did not notice that the bill was not correct. I just pay it.
So, Steve, what's the process? And so, in a perfect world, is it on them or on you to let the county know that the tax status changes?
In the perfect world, we'll get the copy of the deed. The deed will be marked up showing on our side that it would be on the elder exclusion program, and then we remove that exclusion once we got the deed. But now here, you know, with the tax bill, it did print on there, and so our office, it would be good that, you know, hey, this thing's showing exclusion on there, I don't qualify for that. So you would hope that they would have told us, you know, when they got that original bill, but in the perfect world, we should have got it from the deed.
Okay. Any questions for the county?
I'm good. So they receive, and I recognize the issues here, they receive the relief since they purchased the property.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Okay.
And that amount of money, are we looking at 2 years?
Yes, sir.
2 years.
And is the amount the same roughly? Well, no, it's gonna be different, isn't it?
On the
What's the
letter, the
dollar
amount
amount of money
discovered is the
for?
same,
Huh?
$260,000, 326 cents. Well, not cents,
Yeah.
value 260, 326 is the amount of the discovery for both years. So
Which
each year was
generated
19.
additional tax to them?
Yes.
Of a little more, right at $2,400 a year.
Yes.
So it's roughly $4,800 all total.
I didn't do it by the tax rate, I just looked at the value, but yeah,
Right.
if you multiply by the tax rate, it'd be close.
Yeah.
I'll do that for
And
you
then-
real
and
quick.
then
I'm just looking at the bill.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
That was the old, yeah, if you're looking at the old bill, if you multiply by the tax rate, because see, that is the old bill based on the value of $324,000. So this was the 2019 bill, so the amount of the exclusion was 260, 326.
Right.
So we would use that value multiplied by the tax rate for that year. I think
It's roughly $3,800.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
38.
I'm with you.
What I'll add to this from a tax office standpoint is this is from an exclusion, whether it's PUV with farms or elderly exemptions, we're required to review a certain number of those parcels every year. And sometimes ones we pick happen to have an issue with them and we have to fix them. And we're required to go back and issue those discoveries by statute. So, and this is just part of the process. And but it's not that, and I think it's to Steve's point, in a perfect world, we catch it when the deed comes in. We also, at times, are notified by the closing attorney, hey, this property has an exclusion or exemption on it. It's not going to go forward with this. I would suspect that didn't happen in this case.
Well, and the Robin and I have talked about this before, I think that is maybe not a loophole, you know, because a lot of paralegals, when they call in, whether it is a PUV or exclusion, they'll call and say the tax has been paid for prior years. Yeah, taxes were paid. You know, I think on their side, they don't ask, was this part of a exclusion, part of a tax relief? Some of those will notice, you know, where on the website, it may come up in the property class be farm. Well, then it does kind of ring a bell with them, and some of them will call me and say, is this receiving a deferral? You know, has this, you know, is it applicable to a rollback tax? You know, but on some of those within disabled veteran and elderly, they don't ask those questions. Right. It's just most of the time the tax is paid.
Yeah.
I'd like to add to that too. We use a very good attorney, Lewis Fisher, and he's been practicing for many years, and he did not catch it either. So not sure, you know, that made me feel a little better because you guys, some of you know I'm in real estate, and I truthfully did not know. I mean, we're not looking for favors at all. If you feel like it's fair, then we'll abide by that. But we're here. We've never made an appeal. We just, in good faith, paid our bill trusting it was right. And so to be hit with a surprise like this, with an increase of 34%, all at the same time, it's a lot.
And if the review is done, as Mr. Harrell said, if you do a yearly review to catch these things, well, that would have been called in 2019 and we wouldn't have a big bill.
Well, let me rephrase that. That's, for example, in the PUV program, we've got, how many parcels? We've got 5,000 parcels in the PUV program, on top of the exemptions, exclusions, and those sort of things. The statutory requirements we try to adhere to, we review 1/8 of that every year. If you add all the exclusions and everything, it was probably pushing 10,000 parcels with exemptions and exclusions. So these things are very fluid. And so just because one happened in a given year doesn't mean we would have necessarily caught it in that year because we're not reviewing every parcel every year.
Sure.
So,
Sure, understood.
Yeah, just
But
I
it's
just want to provide that
It's
clarification.
2021.
It's 3 years,
yeah.
almost
Right.
3 years later.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Have a good day.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, we got to do the decisions. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to return to tab number 1. As I indicated to you before the beginning of the meeting, this property owner in California and has asked us to present their evidence.
Here we go. For them. And let me get my head wrapped around what I'm doing. So I think if you look at the very beginning, yeah, if you look at the very beginning, they provided 3 comps. It looks like they used Comper. And it looks like their opinion of value would be $264,300. Is that correct, Brent?
Yes, but on the report that
Brent, in the mic.
that is correct, what they submitted in, but on the report that they did submit in, when they used Comper, they selected all sales from 2019. So it was showing a much different value, just because the market has changed a lot from 2019 to 2020. When I was looking at the appeal, I've called Mr. Grote multiple times and left him a voicemail and have not heard a call back from him yet. But when I worked the appeal and entered it into the system, and he made a point in his appeal that they were 1-story houses. I selected one-story houses that were sold in 2020. We have $307,400 on this property. After doing the compa report, the moving average came to $305,600. So we're within $2,000 of what things are selling for out there. His house is a little over 2,000 square feet. The ones selling for like 1,800 square feet and 1,600 square feet are selling at 275. So once the adjustment was made to those to bring them up, that shows we're in line with what the market is driving out there in his neighborhood. I think he just got called up on the website like Phil was showing, and he looked at 2019 sales, and based on that, I could see an adjustment would need to be made. Once I looked at the 2020 sales, it showed we're right in line with what the value needs to be.
And I'm sorry, just for my clarification, what's the assessed value right now?
The assessed value is $307,400.
That's all we have.
All right.
I don't have any questions.
Questions? Okay.
We can go right into the decision with this if you want.
Or you gotta do staff recs.
Oh. Okay. Sorry, I
Or
forgot
Phil.
about the staff.
Phil.
If you go to tab number, which one, or other business, at the very last of the book, you will see lots of staff recs.
256. These are, since you gentlemen convened a couple weeks ago, we've continued on with our informal review process, us meeting with the taxpayers, seeing if we think there's an adjustment made. These are the adjustments, changes, parcels we've reviewed where we thought a adjustment was made. It does not necessarily mean the taxpayer has agreed. It's just that we sent out an adjusted value. They still have their BER rights intact. We just need you to bless these values because we no longer have the right to do it on our own. As you can see, you got the parcel, the appraiser that did it, the original value proposed, a dollar amount change, a percent change, legal description, a site address, and what notes we sent to the taxpayer to explain the change we made. And like I said, there's 200, since the time we last met with you, we sent out 256 changes.
Any questions?
So Phil, they've already gotten a notice of these changed values?
A notice has been sent to them. Some of these were as recent as Monday, so I'm not going to guarantee they're in their hands yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's.
I don't have any questions, I'm just looking through them real quick, yeah.
Do I hear a recommendation that we accept the staff's recommendation?
I'll make a motion that we accept the staff recs as presented.
Second, got a second from Mike. All in favor say aye. Aye. Like sign no. Okay, pass.
That was Dutch and Mike, right?
Beg your pardon, Rob?
Dutch and Mike?
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we'll go to tab number 1.
Okay, help me understand this thing, all right? So, the tax value was raised from the 15 evaluation. And we see what you're recommending. We don't know what, in many cases, what the appellant thinks his or her property is worth or tax valuation. So how do we arrive at a decision other than what we know is what the county thinks it's worth?
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Sure.
Okay, so this is the one where the gentleman submitted his information using Comper, used the 2019 sales, and his opinion of value was $264,300.
I understand.
Okay?
Okay, so, but I'm
I think he's talking from a general
I'm
conceptual
talking about general.
standpoint.
Oh, I thought.
If the taxpayer did not present an opinion of value, he's asking what they do.
He or she
from
just
there.
appealed the valuation going up.
I think most of the ones we heard today presented an opinion of value.
Yes, they did.
So I think you've got to weigh in your mind their opinion versus the data based on the data they provided with the county's opinion and the schedule of values and the most recent sales. Because if you've got an appeal, I'll just use number one here as an example. If they're using all dated sales that are more than a year ago, they're not making adjustments for the time in the market since then. So you have to look at your more recent sales data. And as long as everything's within, our job was done within the schedule of values from an appraisal standpoint, then you have to weigh the two sides against each other.
Yeah, and I don't have any problem with where the county is on disbursement. I think the biggest thing I've heard today, and I know y'all got just a plethora of people you're talking to, when they call in and you have that initial discussion with them, and when they're getting into this website and they see all these comps in here, I can kind of understand to a little bit of degree kind of where they're coming from. If they see all those comps, they're just using them.
Yeah.
You know, is it being kind of explained to them to get down to the most recent and narrow how the county's having to look at it?
We have received hundreds, I don't know, thousands, correct words, questions.
Right.
And I think when we talk them through it, I think they understand. I kind of see all the appraisers nodding their heads. You know, maybe we could put some better instructions out there on the website or something that, you know, we're just trying to kind of open up the universe. It was never my expectation that they would then try to use all of them to come to a conclusion. I always assumed they would narrow it down to more similar properties.
Yeah.
We're just trying to say, hey, here's a starting point.
Well, and I agree, we need to capture, you know, those most recent, you know, because a lot of them that I saw today, I mean, they were using some 2019 stuff, and they were using the approach as closer to my house. Whereas the county, and I kind of agree, I mean, you need to look at more recent comps with the way the market's changing. You know? And I know it's hard to.
The company we work with, you know, they did kind of ask us, you know, what do you want to set as defaults? And I said, keep them in the neighborhood, keep them within a mile. I thought we had some discussions about size, percent plus or minus, but that doesn't seem to be there anymore. It's kind of been a moving thing. So, like I said, I think maybe we could do a little better job of explaining to the taxpayer, the ones that don't call in, some, you know, via the website or something, that, you know, you probably need to be getting down to the most similar, the most recent ones to have your best case.
It's a great source of information, you know, but I just
It's
wonder about
wonderful,
the
too.
average person that doesn't deal in it every day. I think is going to still have a hard time grasping it, you know, so.
And that's probably a challenge, you know, all of us deal with
Oh,
this
yeah.
all day, every day, so
Yeah.
we probably have some assumptions of what a typical person would do that maybe isn't
Right.
totally rational.
Said it, please.
And I'm going to use this number one example. So you think it's worth 307,400. He thinks it's worth 264. So so do we just say, all right, and trying to compromise, do we just cut it in half? I'm not saying we do that, but I'm just sitting there. I was telling Mike earlier, I wish we knew the dollars would be, and that's where I'm really struggling with this whole process now, because in formerly years, we knew the dollars that it was going to hurt somebody to have their tax value raised, and now we don't know the dollar out of pocket, if that makes sense. We know how much. It's almost like we're too early.
Well, from that, I'll take this. From that standpoint, the valuation is irrespective of taxes that you pay. I mean, this is a completely separate component, and the valuation of a property does not have any decision point related on a taxpayer's ability to pay. We know in the end, we have ways to work with taxpayers, whether it be payment plans or tax relief programs or whatever, on the back end. But from a valuation standpoint, we cannot consider.
No, I'm talking about dollars out of their pocket, not the ability to repay, but they should know how much, you know, this first one, he should know how much his taxes are going to stay the same, go up, whatever, and he might not appeal if he saw right now his tax value, his dollars out of pocket might be the same or similar.
Well, even in a non-reval year, they don't know that, because the tax rate is not set until June.
Yeah.
And so, the appraisal date, by statute, the appraisal date is January 1st, and the BER appeal window starts in April and ends when, on that adjournment date. So that's the case in any given year. The only time a taxpayer would know the dollar amount that they're gonna be impacted is in the case of a discovery, which is what case, tab number 12 was. And so that's the only time ever that factor would be known.
Okay.
It's never, the tax rate is never set before the valuation in any budget year, so.
All right.
It just looks like to me on tab 1, the county has better comps. I mean, they're more recent and they're very close.
I mean, looking at his value of 264, I understand where he got it from, because
Yeah.
looking at his comps, it is 264.
Yeah.
But he was using sales from
2019, whereas
Phil,
the
that
county
mic needs to be
uses
on.
sales from.
The mic needs to be
Midland
on.
2020.
All right. Do I hear a recommendation?
I make a motion we accept the county's value on tab 1.
I'll second it.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Aye.
I'm sorry, who's second?
Good with that? All right. All,
Keep an eye on
Dutch recommended, Ray seconded, and all favored, voted in favor.
All righty, Mr. Chairman, we'll go on to tab number 2. That's a no-show. You need to vote on it.
I make a motion, no change in value.
Here a second. Mike, second. All in favor? Aye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Beg your pardon?
I said thank you.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Tab number 3. Sure, I'm sorry. Tab number 3 is 05108016.
Van, as chairman, can I recommend, make a motion or second?
No.
No.
I didn't think so.
You can only break a tie.
Okay.
You can make a recommendation.
Sure,
I
but
mean,
not,
you can say, my feeling is,
That's-
but
I was
but
making
no,
sure.
You only break a tie.
so this is, gentleman, his appraisal was 429. The assessment was 468. Of course, he was, he didn't like the former evaluation was 299 from 15, so he, is what my notes said.
Now, and I've got his assessment's 521. Is that right?
521, 100. Oh, I'm sorry, that's, I don't know what I wrote, 568, that might have been,
His appraisal was 521.
I think it's
429.
429.
And keep in, this was a 2019 appraisal.
It was December, I remember that.
Yeah, and that's the only note I had,
Was
was to kind of
fif-
look at the difference in the comps. And I was trying to, I think I was having a hard time getting to the comp. I don't really have any other notes on it. You got a copy of this? You got a count?
Phil, you got the comps on this? They're asking for comps.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Is that it right there? Comp?
On number 3.
I'm flipping by it somehow. They're in the book.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one where it's behind that extra.
Yeah, we got a bunch.
Excuse me, excuse me.
You got it right?
Yeah. This,
And I think that if I remember correctly, didn't it start off at 568 and then they reduced it to 521?
This is a gentleman that had a large tract of land, 10 acres. He said that 7 of it was in a floodplain.
Is that correct? Yeah, you're right.
Well, he also mentioned that access to his property was
Yeah. No road, no state maintained road.
state-maintained
Mhm.
road, but with 10 houses in there, I would think, that should have been looked at.
Was the county showing floodplain?
Oh, we did not adjust for the floodplain. We often don't on residential tracts, if it doesn't impede the use of the property for its highest and best use, for
Right.
residential use. So no, we have not made any adjustments for floodplain.
He can still put it in the pasture, or he can
Yeah.
mow it or whatever, but he just can't build on
Brad,
it.
you gotta be on the mic.
Go ahead and go to the.
No, that information was not provided prior to today, but it can be looked at. But like Phil said, most of the time on these residential properties, it's on the fringe. It's not really impeding the use of the property. The highest and it doesn't impede the highest and best use of the property.
going back to what Dutch said,
Well, I reckon if you look at it, he's got 10 acres there, and the land, assessed value of the land, I know we don't want to look at that too hard, just over 10 grand an acre or something, so.
Right. Again, that's something that was just brought up today to our attention, that we didn't even know it was an issue
Right, till today.
till today.
Okay. Looking at the difference in the comps, I'm okay with where the county is. How about y'all?
yeah, with you.
I'm struggling with a little bit with the 410, the 510.
Right.
So, Robert, I can make a recommendation?
Sure. You can see if anybody wants to,
I'm thinking 475.
Excuse me, you said 410, I mean
510,
510. It's 521.1.
Excuse me, I sure did.
Okay.
Just based on flood,
Private road, yeah. But I mean, you certainly can disagree.
So you said 475?
It's based on private road, floodplain.
Okay.
The house is, I'll make sure I get my story straight here. That's the number I pulled out there.
And I know y'all, Brad, you didn't know anything about it till today. We typically, we would make adjustments sometimes for flood, wouldn't we? We would.
Sometimes, just a little quick overview, in neighborhoods,
Yeah.
subdivisions. This is in the mini ranches
Right.
out south of Waxhaw.
Yeah.
Most of the time, what we see is the fringe floodplains on those parcels, they don't make an impact because what they're looking for is acreage to build their house on. And as long as they got enough acreage to build a house on and the floodplain doesn't impede the use of the property for that, the remainder is in a little mini pasture or whatever for a little mini farm. The flood zone does not impact that. We don't see a difference in sale price. It doesn't impact the marketability of the lot, that a portion of it's in flood. It's in some of this larger acreage in the rural area or the small, all acreage in the rural area. It can impede the use if it impacts it greatly. This, we see rarely that it impacts value in these small subdivisions on these lots. Even though this one is a large lot, we just don't see it reflectively in the market. So we don't usually reflect it. And again, we're trying to reflect market value.
He's got the smallest house too of the three comps. That's what I was, a good bit smaller. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'd,
We go with what
I
you.
would be okay with the recommendation. I mean, I would support the value of reducing it overall to 475 from 521 to 475.
Here a second?
Second.
Ready to second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Right, okay.
So it's, make sure I got it, that's 475 even.
Mhm.
Okay, and that's due to flood zone and
And
right
the
in
private drive.
private drive?
And the fact that he's got the smallest, of those comps, he's got the smallest house.
Yes, you can. I mean, the taxpayer had every right to stay here. mean,
I told him that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Chairman, we're going to go on to tab number 4. The parcel number is 09298-143.
Okay.
This is the one he had just, it's based on the appraisal, right?
I believe this is the one that Phil offered to do the adjustment for the condition of the roof for 1 year.
No.
This is not that one? Okay.
No, I made a note on that one.
Okay.
This gentleman lives off of the Fowler Seekers.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What am I, I'm not seeing the counties.
He does have an appraisal that's dated September of 2020. But I mean, it's, where the county is and where he is very close.
You got, am I hearing this 293.6 is assessed value?
Yes.
I don't know, without looking at it, were the comps similar, without me trying to look through it, do y'all remember if the comps were similar that the appraiser used, that the county used, or?
The comps and the subject speed appraisal?
Yeah. Oh, no more than that is, I'm just gonna change it.
Good with that?
Yeah. I'm just gonna leave it. What's that? I was just gonna make a motion, we leave it, no more difference. Yeah. I just make a motion, we, leave the value as is. The values are just very close between the appraisal and the county's value.
Did I get a second?
Second.
Mike, second.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay.
That was assessed value of 293.6?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, the next one is tab number 5. The parcel number is 06180-275.
I'm familiar with some of those houses in there and just kind of recognize the difference of a few of the grades. And the only note I had, and I don't know what it does to it, if we adjust it to X plus minus,
We did what now?
if we adjust this is the one when he was explaining to us, I think, just the grade of finish on the inside, it just wasn't up near to what the neighboring properties were.
And he mentioned also, the pools, the amenities these other properties had that this property does not have.
Yeah,
But,
and I think the county said they kind of factor that out. That
yeah,
automatically gets,
that's kind of hard to,
yeah.
Well, they said they factored out fences. They didn't mention pools and cabanas, things.
Didn't y'all mention how the pools and stuff are factored?
2 of the properties had pools and some other amenities as outbuildings.
Yeah.
And we literally took dollar for dollar, whatever we had added to the other,
Yeah,
we backed that out.
backed it out. Yeah.
So we have accounted for that difference as much as feasible. And no, we don't typically put value on fences. I personally am doubtful that changes the market value of a property appreciably.
What does it do if you drop the grade, the quality or grade. I reckon I'm using the right term. From
Yeah,
excellent to excellent minus.
It's gonna be several percent different. I'd have to refer to the schedule of values. I'm guessing 8 to 10% on the improved values, improved
Right,
value.
on the approved value.
On improvement alone, that wouldn't impact the land, obviously.
So that you're recommending the county value, right?
That's the notes, well, the notes I had, just to discuss it and maybe take what everybody's pleasure was. I mean, to take the grade from excellent to excellent minus, which would lower, like Phil said, the value on the improvements by roughly 8 to 10%. Okay. Based on what we were hearing from the taxpayer. When he was hung up on the lot, to me, we've
Yeah.
looked at that before, the lot values remain the same.
I wrote down, he was thinking this value, his evaluation was 654,500, he thought, but I just wrote that down. He thought the lot was worth 129.
Yeah.
What did you have as his opinion of value?
Beg your pardon?
What did you have as his opinion?
His opinion is 754,500
Okay. I thought I wrote it down wrong.
and 129 for the lot.
And he currently is at,
959.
959, 800.
so just as a rough estimate, if we reduced the grade, it would take it down at roughly 75 grand.
It's gonna be very close to that. At the top of my head, I don't know what the percent difference is, but typically it's right in that neighborhood.
Brad, can you run upstairs and get one of the schedule of values books?
I had the same question on this one and the next one, as far as,
So you go 10% below, 10% of the 950,
It wouldn't be 10% of the 959, it'd be 10% of the 759, because it
Of the
only
improvement
impacts
value.
the improvements.
gotcha.
And then again, it could be 8%, it could be 12.
I mean,
It's-
and I'm just asking, to me, that's logical. I mean.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
If you're gonna approach it this way, I think that's a good way of approaching it. There are variances in quality in there.
Right.
And it seems to me that that's really where you're
Yeah.
zeroing in on.
yeah,
is
and most
quality.
of them are nicely finished homes, but I do know of some that were kind of spec type homes that sat for a long time.
That definitely happens.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't speak to this one in particular, but it definitely happens.
Yeah.
Why don't we move on? Was that tab 6, 5?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to suggest, why don't we move on to tab number 7?
Okay.
Since we're talking about quality for the next two, right, Dutch?
Those were the questions I had on, on
Okay,
5
so-
and 6.
Tab number 7 is parcel number 09397169. This is the one where
Yeah.
we suggested, well, Phil suggested the roof reduction.
And I would be fine with that. I thought that was a good way to approach it. And just, the notes I had would be to make the motion to apply a cost to cure of $17,000. Is that what y'all had?
Mhm.
And with the county looking at it again in a year, is the way I remember hearing it.
Yep.
And so that would be my motion.
I hear a second.
I'll second it.
Mike seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Yep. So
I
the
think we-
next one is tab number 8. The parcel number is 07132308.
This is the one we had discussion about, a good bit about the comps versus his 21 properties listed.
I mean, I just kind of understand where he got that, you know, but, whether right or wrong, I think I'm kind of leaning towards where the county is on it.
So you're saying that the taxpayer saying that we picked out 3 out of 20-something and used that instead of the whole average
Yeah.
group?
Yeah, because when he pulled it up, you know,
Yeah.
off the site, he used them all, you know, with what it defaulted to. And that's got all the sales in there, probably 2018, 2019, and 2020, whereas the county used the most recent
Yeah.
comps.
Gotcha. So your recommendation is?
I mean, yeah, with that, I'm fine where the county is on it. Just would make the motion to leave it.
Here a second.
Second.
Ray seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good. Mr. Spurlock was critical of the county's getting him information that he needed to make a decision or appeal.
And what I've got here, without looking at it, the county's at 315, his appraisal's at 295. I make a motion, we leave it.
Well, excuse me, according to my notes, the county's recommendation is to return it back to the 328,400.
Oh, okay.
Because we used 18 and 19 sales.
That's right. Yeah.
Which moved it back to the 314,900.
328,400.
Well, down to, yeah. So do you want to vote to move it back to the original value of 328,400? Or are you voting to?
He's currently, he didn't know that till today, right?
Right.
So he's currently at 314 now.
9, yeah.
Can I make a suggestion here? We did send this gentleman a notice for $314,900. We put it out there. I would like to stick with it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I'll make that motion.
So we're accepting the 314,900?
Yep, yep,
Yep, I like that.
yeah.
Second?
It's unfortunate. I wish it didn't happen.
Right, I mean, it's just,
Mike,
you
second.
deal with that many of them, you ain't gonna get them all.
Go ahead, Robin.
Got it. Okay, you want to return back to our other ones? Are we ready, Brad? Yeah, we're looking at the section. Okay, we'll keep on going then. So tab number 10 is parcel number 07093,474.
He was the one in that subdivision that y'all put up on the board, I believe.
Yes, that's when we demoed Comper. I think his primary concern was that he used a comp that was across the street, and we used a comp that was down the street.
Yeah.
Which one are we on?
It's tab number 10.
Remember the one
Parcel
he was,
number is 07093,473.
he kept
Greg,
talking
did you
about
wanna
houses
speak
that
to
were close to him that should have been used as comps rather than nearby properties.
Right, right. I think it kind of gets back into something
case they
similar
have
we were
any
talking about
questions.
before.
I would make a recommendation we stay with the state or the county.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't make the recommendation.
I can suggest.
Okay.
I suggest.
I make a recommendation we go to the county.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Mr. Chairman, back to tab 6.
Yes, sir.
The difference on the grade multipliers, we're going from excellent to excellent minus, is a 22% change, 26% change.
Whoa.
That'd be
Wow.
about where I think it might need to be though.
Okay.
Because I didn't think 8 to 10% was quite enough. You know, I think that might.
Yeah. That would be a 26% reduction in the current
On the
improvement value,
improved
on the
value.
improvement, yes.
And that goes back to tab 7. No,
6.
6.
6.
Well, we're looking at it for 6 and 7.
Yeah, but tab 5's the one I was looking at. That's the one in Providence Downs.
Yeah,
I think there was 2 back-to-back that were Providence Downs.
Yeah,
yeah. 5 and 6 are
Yeah.
Providence Downs.
yeah. those are the notes I had on both of those. I mean, if the board is okay with it to reduce it to excellent minus. Yeah. So I make a motion, we change the grade on tab 5 and tab 6 from excellent to excellent minus.
Second.
So is that gonna recalculate the,
Yes.
tax, okay, so we don't need to kind of settle on dollar amount, right?
No, no.
Okay, okay,
The system will do that calculation, and they'll get a
Okay.
notice once that change has been
I
made.
like that.
Hold on just a second, let me get caught up, guys. Alrighty, so now we're up to,
Did you get 10, Robin? I think we,
I did get 10,
Okay,
so
so
now
we're-
we're at 11.
Now
Tab
we're-
number 11,
Yep.
07, 093, 020. This
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 is
is
the-
the one bedroom.
yeah, lady with the one-bedroom home.
I think she's got a point.
I do too. So she gave 175 for it, did I remember that right?
In August of 2019.
175, she paid.
Yep.
And she was, her opinion of value was 200,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was reasonable, based on what she did.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Well, we did reduce it from 310, 200 to 255. So right now, the county's sitting at 255.
Yeah.
So what would be the most prudent way to adjust it down based on her circumstances if we wanted to get close? I'm not saying on the number, but get close to 200. What?
If we're gonna make an adjustment, I think the most likely thing to zero in on is the functional depreciation due to it being a one-bedroom.
Right, right.
Currently, that's $35,000.
Yeah, so that'd get us down to about 250, 220.
220.
Uh,
No,
That's already been applied, the $35,000 has already been
Oh,
applied,
okay.
yes, sir.
So that's what got it down to 250.
That's, we used the $35,000 to get it to 255.
I think we go 35 again,
And get it down to about
220.
Yeah.
That's-
So to
I
get-
suggest that.
Yeah. To get it to 220,
Are
do you
you-
just increase that number? Or does it,
Do you want me to apply 70,000 to no function, or do you want me to get to 220? I kind of heard two different things.
well, we want to get to 220, I think.
Okay, we'll get to 220.
You do the math.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Dutch, second.
Mhm.
Second.
Ray, all in favor? Aye.
Golly, it's quieter without Ashcraft here. Where's, I thought he was going to be virtual or something.
And the last
Okay.
one, go
Tab
ahead.
number 12, yep, 061293032A. And that's the discovery. If I may,
Sure.
there's nothing on the deed that indicates that it's an elderly exclusion. In a perfect scenario, the estate would notify us that the person has deceased.
So that's what happened to the prior owner.
Yes, she died,
Okay,
and the estate sold the property.
okay.
So in a perfect world, as far as assessment is concerned, when somebody dies and the estate goes to, the property goes to an estate or to an heir,
Mhm.
that they call us up and say, hey, my mom died, you know, you need to change the name on the property.
Right.
What we end up doing is we end up looking for death certificates or wills or estate files. You know, we've got to go through all these legal documents on a monthly basis to try to figure out if somebody has passed away or not. Then our second point of contact would be the attorney. And I mean, we're very familiar with Lewis Fisher.
As thorough as they come, I mean, for the most part, I think.
I'm sorry?
As thorough as they come for the most part, I think.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
How would he know,
yeah.
how would he know that there's a tax situation where it's a lesser tax rate based on either being, like farmland or elderly situation. How would he know that?
Well, first and foremost, it says it on the tax bill. Okay, so if they're looking at a tax bill, which is on the county webpage,
And he would have had to have that to give the Bentons
yes,
the taxes going forward. They would have annualized it, right?
in my opinion, yes.
Yeah.
They would have had to have called the county, and those paralegals that do title research, they do ask, is there an exclusion? Is there exemption? Is there a deferment? Are there city taxes? Are there stormwater fees? I mean, they go through a whole plethora of questions.
And also on our website, if you pull this parcel up prior to the change being made, I guess it's technically not been made yet, it's proposed. The parcel indicates online that there's an elderly exclusion on the property.
Yeah.
And to that point, and we'll talk about discoveries in general just for a second. In the case of real estate, and I say real estate because real estate and personal property operate differently when it comes to discoveries. From a real estate standpoint, we do not charge penalty and interest on discoveries. It's principal tax only, and the point of a discovery by statute is to recover taxes that should have been paid that may not have been billed or paid in error. So whether it's on the tax office part or whether it's on the taxpayer's part. From a personal property standpoint, let's talk about businesses. We do audits on businesses. If they underlist their assets, we're obligated by statute to go do a 5-year look back and audit them and pick up whatever assets they have not listed and issue a discovery bill with penalty and interest, especially for large businesses, because they have CPAs, they have preparers that do this stuff for them. And if they're underlisting, then whether it's intentional or not, we have to go back and do those discoveries. In that case, you have penalty and interest, but on real estate, you do not. So here it's just recovering those principal amount of taxes that were not billed because the notifications may not have been handled as thoroughly and accurately as possible.
So, I mean, what you're saying, and just so I know, I mean, this normally is called.
Yes,
Yeah.
but we have to do a lot of digging to catch it.
Right. That's kind of it.
Estates and especially taxpayers that may pass away without a will,
Right.
it may be years before we're notified of that happening. And that happens more often than most people realize.
Right.
Yeah, it used to happen a lot, I'd say like 5-6 years ago before I really got into this whole issue. We would have 3, 4, 5 years where a person would have died and that property was getting the exclusion benefit, and we had no idea because nobody notified us of the death. So then what I instituted in the assessment division is that we look at these death certificates. Now, if the person dies in Mecklenburg County, I can't see the death certificate.
Right.
You know, if the person dies in South Carolina, I can't see it. So, I mean, we do due diligence in trying to hunt this stuff down.
But it's just very
But
difficult.
yeah, we make a mistake. And I would have to add into what Van is saying is that because real estate's on a permanent listing system, it really is the taxpayer's responsibility to know what they're being taxed on.
So how many years can you go back on this? Just
5.
so we're only billing for 2?
Well, that's all that escaped
Right.
taxation.
They just bought it in 19, so
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so I
it's-
mean, we caught it pretty fast.
Yeah.
And this is not a bill that would be due immediately. They have until January of next year to pay this bill.
And there's no penalties like you said,
Unless they pay it after January 5th of next year, then there's interest charged. But it's not like we're gonna bill them today. They gotta pay within 30 days. They've got 9 months to take care of this.
Okay.
That helps me then.
Yeah.
I mean,
What do you think, Dutch?
I don't know, it comes to me, I'm suggesting, Robin, that they pay 1 year. And that's just, this is the first thing that comes to my mind. Rather than paying 38, they pay 19.
Do we have much of this come before? I can't remember.
They seem to be coming before us more and more. We handled some discoveries in the fall. And you did compromise the discovery, and it is the board's, right to compromise a discovery. It's well within your powers. But yes, people appealing discoveries, I'd say it's happening more and more.
Right.
In like the last, what would you say, Steve, or Travis? Steve, there you are. Last year and a half, 2 years?
Yeah, if I'm thinking, in the fall, I think we had, maybe 4 or 5?
Yeah, I want to say in the fall, we had a bunch. Yeah.
I mean,
We had the chicken houses and.
the board's
we had-
typical stance has been to not compromise. There have been cases where you have, but historically, that typically has not been the case. So precedent is there to hold the line. Now, when it comes to waiving penalties, that's another ballgame. When you're talking about actual tax dollars and principal amount of taxes, that precedent that has been set is typically not to compromise.
And where I can remember it more is on farm, and we had one not long ago, I think, was it Dan Brooks? And I'm trying to remember, wasn't that a discovery?
Yeah, that was the chicken houses.
Yes,
wasn't it?
chicken houses.
Yeah.
And we stood with the county.
No, you compromised it.
We did compromise it.
Yep.
Okay.
But I mean, Van is correct. The precedent for the board has been the few that have come before you since I've been, clerking, have been that we hold the line.
Yeah.
But,
The part I'm having trouble with is, the young lady said that she just carte blanche wrote a check for these bills and didn't look at it. Well, it's plain and simple here is, there's an exemption on the bill. But, so I don't think we should waive anything on this, but it's my opinion. Make a motion, we stick with the billing as is.
Your second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
All righty, Mr. Chairman, that ends our agenda for today.
I'm sorry, Robin, I never heard a decision on number 10.
That we're gonna, it stands as,
Accept county value.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I had.
Let me ask a quick question on that. Not, the decision's fine, but just from an appraisal standpoint. He says there's 2 different builders in that neighborhood. I know in some neighborhoods, we look at things from a builder's perspective. Do we need to look at that neighborhood and see if there is something?
We could. I was honestly looking at his versus one of our comps. I can't tell it isn't the same floor plan. So, yes, particularly after the 2008 fall, we had a lot of lots sitting vacant, and 3rd, 4th, 5th builders would come in and start building, and a lot of times very different homes. Where it might have been all brick. A lot of times when they went through bankruptcy, the HOA restrictions fell off of them. So you might have a subdivision all brick now, vinyl siding. So yeah, in that case, we definitely said, hey, we gotta say these are not the same animals. In this case, we didn't think that was warranted. You have to take a look at it, though.
Well, we already, okay, are we rescinding a vote?
No, I was just answering Van's question.
And that's on tab 10?
10.
I just think, those builders are gonna follow the,
They
square
sure-
footage minimums and,
They sure look very similar.
yeah.
Van, did you say it looks like next week you'd be doing just Wednesday? Or don't you
Yeah, as far as I know, next week, we're just scheduled for Wednesday.
Okay.
How about tomorrow evening?
Tomorrow evening's off.
Okay.
Yeah. We have one that has requested an evening meeting, so we're holding that one until we have more than one to come in for, because we don't want to come just for one.
How soon can we get the notices? Like a week before? How
So
do you
what
schedule
we're going
it?
to try to do is send out, once we have a more active stream of appeals to the board from the informals, we'll be able to schedule that more frequently. And I would think by Wednesday afternoon, we would know what we have going into the next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was how, we did get an email, I think, from Belmont that
Yeah,
it was only gonna be Wednesday for this week.
right.
Okay.
Wednesday for next
It
week.
didn't dawn on me till we sat here, yeah, but I remember getting her email. Okay.
Yeah, and then it will be Wednesday only from next week. My guess is after that will probably be a couple days a week. And then we'll reserve the Thursday nights. We'll try to build up. We don't want to push them out too far, but we'll try to build up a few. And if we can't get additional ones that need an evening time, we'll just assign some at evening time so we can get the ones that want it heard.
Okay.
And I, to echo what Van's saying, I would say we're primarily gonna hit Wednesdays. Then our next day would be Monday. And then, maybe one Thursday a month.
Yeah, if we, again,
So
I
always
don't
keep
want
your
to push it out
Wednesdays
that
free.
far, so,
Right, okay.
Yeah, keep
Okay.
your Wednesdays free.
yeah.
Monday's a tough day for me.
Monday is,
Yeah.
and then Thursday is really,
And we did that because we changed it from Tuesday, Thursday to Monday, Wednesday, Thursday evening for the revalue cycle, because we didn't want to be in here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Right.
in 3 consecutive days.
Yeah.
And that way, because, I think all of y'all work full-time jobs, and that way you're not, well, Mr. Farmer here doesn't. He retired from his full-time job.
He still works.
So,
I won't ask you.
with that, I think we're done. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes, please. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you, guys.
See y'all.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah.